And afterwards, I believe that Barry, we're going to show that clip of one of the incidents. Is that correct? No. Okay, but that's going to be available to the media, and then we will actually, the borough president and everyone else is invited to join us. We're actually going to take a walk straight down to Empire Boulevard.
Yeah, as long as you stay down.
Visit the Raksin family, pay condolence call to them. That is the family where Rabbi Raksin, on the way to synagogue about a week ago or so, was shot dead by two perpetrators, and the entire community sort of caught up in that, and what exactly happened, what the facts are in that case, we just don't know at this time. Let me,
go down?
I think we can get started now. First of all, I'm happy to be here. I wish it was a little bit different circumstances. The leaders of the Crown Heights Jewish community have been in touch with me. They're always in touch with me, but in particular over the past couple of weeks, Barry Sugar, Hanina Sperlin, Ellie Cohn, others, leaders of the community, with very deep concern about incidences that were happening, attacks, criminal acts that were taking place directed against individuals within the Jewish community here in Crown Heights. They were deeply concerned because they didn't have the sense that they were getting the response. They didn't have the sense that government was listening necessarily, and they were deeply concerned about it. One particular incident that I want to mention that really disturbs me greatly. There was a 24-year-old man who was walking the streets very, very innocently, and three young people who happened to be African American attacked him. Some of that is on video. They didn't ask him for anything. They didn't steal anything. There was just an attack. This person was seriously injured and ended up in the hospital. One of the perpetrators was pursued. The police were there with that one particular perpetrator. He was let go. We don't know why. We don't understand. I can tell you that there was a comment that was made by a police officer where there was a sense that maybe we don't want to rock the boat. There's a lot going on, whether it's Staten Island or other parts of the United States, and we just didn't want any tension. I would like to believe that's not true, but I can't understand this one particular case. There have been others. A young woman who was just punched, nothing taken. It just doesn't make sense. And we hope, with the leadership, the borough president, other elected officials, and everyone that's here, we have, number one, the greatest police department in the country. There's no question about that. And we have great leadership at City Hall. But in the year 2014, no one should be afraid to walk the streets because of their religion, because of the color of their skin, because of what they believe in. No one. It's unacceptable. It's not acceptable once, and surely not on many occasions in a short period of time. So we hope today, and again I thank, and this is absolutely magnificent, it's not about the Jewish community, as you can tell. It's about innocent citizens of our city being victimized, and we all stand together, we all speak out, and we all want to make sure that the last incident that happened is really the last one. So thank you for being here and the attention that we're focusing, and I know that we're going to do better starting today. I'm delighted, my colleague, we've stood together so many times in so many different neighborhoods over the years, the borough president of the great borough of Brooklyn, the Honorable Eric Adams.
Thank you, Doug. Thank Doug, Chairman Heikens, and our public advocate representing the citywide thought on this entire issue. And we all know that our action today is a form of unification and surrounding in one voice the concerns that we have of any sense or any actions of violence. And what's important is not when a sick mind does something that is anti any faith-based institution. What's important is our response. we cannot allow these actions to go unresponded to. We cannot stop the sick minds. The police department investigates and ensure that the individuals are incarcerated, and our criminal justice system will move the issue forward to ensure those who are responsible are brought to justice. But we have an obligation. We have an obligation to raise our voice when a Christian church is burned on Utica Avenue, Reverend Terry Lee. We have an obligation to raise our voice when a Muslim temple, some type of marking or anti-Muslim statement is wrote on the walls or the building. We have an obligation to raise our voice when a member of this Jewish community is assaulted for no reason at all. And so when we see these increase of attacks on groups or individuals, what appears to be based on their religious or their faith or their spiritual beliefs, we have an obligation as Brooklynites and as New Yorkers to state that that will not happen in our city. And that's what we must match our desires with. We must match our desires to stamp out any form of hate, to come together as responsible Brooklynites that understand that any given Saturday or Sunday or Friday, individuals are worshiping in their houses of worship. They expect to do so free of harassment. They expect to do so free of abuse. They expect to do so free to be able to be with their families and walk the streets. And that's what our presence here today. Our presence is here is not to arrest. That's what the NYPD does. That's their obligation. Our presence here is not to condemn any groups. Let others do that. Our presence is to say, as Brooklynites, we are united. We are united in Crown Heights. We're united in Flatbush. We're united in Borough Park and all parts of this borough. We believe in the concept of one Brooklyn. And that's what our presence is here, both with yarmulkes and religious collars, with crosses and the Star of David, and with those who pray at mosque and in temples and Buddhist temples. All of us are here together saying one message: we will not tolerate violence on any group. And so we want those who are here to share that message before we start to move forward and walk. And we want to hear from our Public Advocate Letitia James.
I am the public advocate, but I am the former city council member who represented Crown Heights and who represented this largely Jewish community. And every single time that when there was an act of hate, I stood with the Jewish community. And I've come here today to send a simple message. And my message is consistent across all 5 boroughs. We stand together, united against injustice and against hate. And although we live in an increasingly dangerous world, here in New York City, we come together in a united front against any acts of hate, any acts of hate against the Jewish community, the Muslim community, the Christian community. We will not be divided by artificial man-made differences. We are all united and we stand together. And so I also say that we can't live in fear, but we also can't be complacent. And so whenever there is an act of crime, whenever there is an act of hate, all of us must come together in a rapid response and say, not in Crown Heights, not in Brooklyn, not in New York City, not in Staten Island, not under my watch. And so we stand here today and we give our thoughts and our prayers are with the rabbi and his family and all of those who are victims of hate. And we stand with these 2 great leaders who have demonstrated great leadership in the city of New York. And I stand with them today to say that we are at peace and we want to remain in peace. And we want Crown Heights to lead the way. No more knockout attacks, no more attacks against individuals based upon their religious garb. We must treat everyone as a member of one human family. It will not be tolerated. And if in fact you commit this crime on these streets or on any other city street, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And this united body will make sure of that when we go to court. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, one of the leaders of Crown Heights. I think I have more emails from him than anyone else that I communicate with because of his concern. Hanina Sperlin. Hanina?
Thank you very much, Assemblyman Heineken. I want to thank everybody for coming out here today. I want to thank Barry Sugar for putting this whole thing here together. This assault that took place here, day after day, Wednesday night at midnight, 11:40 p.m. to be exact. He was attacked because he was a Jew. He was wearing a black hat, a yarmulke, and the perps that came over to him didn't see him speaking on the telephone, didn't ask him for money, didn't ask him if you have a wallet or anything. They punched him because he was a Jew. And that's what they did over there, because he was a Jew. The following day, that happened on this corner, right over here, on Albany and Union. The following day, at 4 p.m., a young little Jewish boy, minding his own business, riding a bicycle at 4 p.m. around the corner from here, on President and Troy, and he see a group of African Americans, I believe it was 3, maybe 4, walking on this sidewalk, coming against him. So he figured, they're not going to pass by with my bicycle. So he went and he moved to the side. When they passed him, they punched him. They didn't ask him for money. They didn't even pull off or take away his bicycle from him, because he was a Jew, because he had a yarmulke. And we came a long way since the dark days of Crown Heights. I mean, this is coming up to the anniversary now. And the Crown Heights Jewish Community Council, at that time, or after that program, we had opened up a organization called Project Care. The public advocate is aware of it. At that time, she was a city council. She gave funding for it, and we brought it around the table, like you see over here today, different leaders from the Jewish community, from the African American community, from the Caribbean American community, sitting around the table. And we are not going back there. So these thugs, and I just want to bring it out, another important point, that this little boy that did the assault, for some reason let go, was only 12 or 13 years old. You know, when you see a little child who could be avowed with this assault because the victim could not identify him, so I think the police, the first thing they have to do, maybe he lost his way home. Maybe he doesn't have the car fare to go home. So we have to take the little kid, 12 or 13 years old, and take him home to his parents. Not let him go. So again, I want to thank everybody who came out here today. I want to thank Barry Sugar, public advocate, Tisha James, and our borough president who called this news conference over here today, Eric Adams, who was the state senator of this district for I think about 7 or 8 years. Eric can correct me if I'm wrong. And I just wanted to say that I want to thank him for bringing everything together. And let's hope there should be peace in Crown Heights, around the city. Thanks a lot.
Let me mention the name. I want to mention the name of the 24-year-old who was attacked by 3 people, ended up in the hospital. Someone was arrested, someone was talked to by the police, let go, etc. That is a deep concern. His name is Abraham Wolosow, W-O-L-O-S-O-W. Let me introduce next my colleague in Albany, very, very good friend, Assembly Member Karim Kamel.
Thank you to our borough president and public advocate, and also to Assemblyman Dov Hikind and the rest of the leaders here from the Jewish community. As we stand here, I'm reminded of the quote by Reverend Martin Niemöller during the height of the diabolical Nazi regime, when he said, when they came for the socialists, I did not speak because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists. I didn't speak because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jew, and I did not speak because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. In that same spirit, we say today that if they come for the Jew, if they come for the Hindu, if they come for the Buddhist, if they come for the Muslim, we cannot stand for that as a community, because we are all inextricably bound, and we have a responsibility as humanity to speak up for that individual who's attacked merely because he was Jewish. We have to speak against it. As Rabbi Kanina Sperlin said, we've come a long way as a community, and I can tell you for the 8 years that I've been in office, that I've had the blessing to serve this community as a New York State Assemblyman, we have been united as leadership, and we've stood together. If there was a victim who happened to be black, we stood together. If there was a victim who was Jewish, we stood together. And we expect the same thing to happen now, that we're united, and we're going to say there's no excuse for anyone to not feel safe on the streets where they live. We also have to say our hearts and prayers continue to go out to Rabbi Raksin's family. And even though it's in Miami, we are still pleading, we're praying that the Miami police do everything in their power to capture the suspects, the people responsible for that heinous crime in Miami, Florida. I'm proud to stand with the leadership. We're standing united, and we're going to make sure that whoever did this here in Crown Heights will be brought to justice, because our community cannot stand for such evil acts.
Thank you. Next, another one of the leaders of Crown Heights, who is quite amazing, and really, you don't meet people that incredibly dedicated day in, day and night, and is really affected by the things that go on. My good friend Barry Sugar. He's the head of the Jewish Leadership Council here in Crown Heights.
I want to thank everyone for taking their time out of their busy day to come and show support for this very, very important issue of challenging bigotry and racism and anti-Semitism anywhere that it might come from. I'm very humbled to stand before you almost 23 years to the day. Tomorrow will be 23 years to the day when the riots happened in Crown Heights. And I was a young man at the time. I was on Kingston Avenue, and hundreds of thugs were walking down the street, and they were screaming, "Get the Jew, kill the Jew." This is not Poland. This is not Germany. This is not Austria. This is Brooklyn. So this gathering right here with all these wonderful people that took their time out to fight injustice, to fight bigotry, is a tremendous, tremendous accomplishment, and may God bless them all. The reason we're here today is on the spot where we're standing on Wednesday, a young Jewish person was attacked for no other reason but for his religion and where he prays. Now, right over here, they surrounded him, and you can come over to me afterwards and I'll send you an email of the video. They surrounded him over here. One guy from the side punched him in the face. There was no words exchanged. There was no motive of robbery. This was done to inflict pain on someone that looks different. And it's very unfortunate the incident happened. What's as unfortunate to us and troubling to us is that the Jewish Volunteer Patrol Organization that went in pursuit of this individual, they were able to apprehend the individual, but the NYPD, for whatever reason, chose not to be concerned about the victim that happens to be Jewish, and they let the perpetrator walk. Now, for us, that's terrible. In the wake of Mr. Raksin's murder in Florida on the way to synagogue at 9 a.m., I was just reading a study by Rutgers University. They say that the likelihood of a robbery at 9 a.m. is 2%. So the fact that he was gunned down at close range suggests that there might have been another motive. Whether it was entirely because of his faith or partially because of his faith, there was definitely another motive. So we in the Jewish community have fought this 2,000-year battle where
who tried to use race and color and religion as a means to divide people. And unfortunately, those people are still being heard in this country. And elected officials are still turning to them for advice. And this is not something that should be tolerated. If someone used language that incited a murder in this community, and I'm not talking about Yankel Rosenbaum's murder, but there was a death in this community that took place because of incitement, and that person has never apologized, and he's being heard today in the halls of power. Shame on all of us. So I want to really thank everyone who's come out over here, and everyone that is shown that we are a better people, and that we've come a long way, that all of the communities join together, and let's hope that everything that we stand for here will be heard and will be followed through.
I'm sorry, could you come in for a moment? Can you come in for a moment also? Reverend Terry Lee, somebody with the cloth, come in for a moment also. Someone with the collar. With the collar. Because it's about the right image. I'm not the borough president of Brownsville. I'm not the borough president of Borough Park. I'm not the borough president of Park Slope. I'm the borough president of Brooklyn. And I want everybody to be clear. I am not speaking for one group. I'm speaking for 2.8 million people. People who kneel and pray to Allah. People who pray in a synagogue. People who pray in a Baptist church, people who pray in a Buddhist temple. I do not receive any condolences or feeling of happiness because of a particular ethnic group was spared. We are in this together. And I want to be clear, the symbol of someone wearing a hijab, a yarmulke, or a Baptist collar all stands the same. No person in this city should be persecuted based on their religious beliefs. And if we leave here today believing the outrage we have is for one particular group, we're sending the wrong message. We are united as one borough, one borough. All of us are outraged when a Jewish person is struck. We're outraged when a Baptist church is burnt. We're outraged when someone writes graffiti on the mosque. We're outraged anytime someone persecutes an individual because of their religious beliefs. And we want to be clear with that. If anyone knows it better, Crown Heights knows it better. We know what happened when people are prosecuted and persecuted and attacked because of their religious beliefs. So we want the sound to be heard loudly and clearly that if Crown Heights understand the lessons of the past, we don't want the borough of Brooklyn to repeat those mistakes of the past. And so I want to hear from Reverend Terry Lee, whose church was burned. It was burned because it was a church. That's why it was burned. That's right. That's right. And we want to hear from members of the Muslim community who went through a horrific action, that someone drew terrible things on their house of worship. Houses of worship are sacred in America, and they're sacred in the borough of Brooklyn, no matter what house of worship it was.
Thank you, President Eric. And a few days ago, we have the Unity Walk, where we marched the streets of Flatbush, bringing the unity with the police and the community. And the same night of the leaving, the prayer meeting, a national night out, about 9:30, somewhere around that time, and I reached into my house minutes to 10, my phone rang, and they said, Reverend Terry, your church is on fire. I said, no, I just live there. So I rushed down on Utica Avenue. And when I get there, the fire department, they were just on time. The police department, they were just there right on time. In the rubble in my office filled with plaques and citations from all walks of life from over 20 years. But I look and there's some pictures, and the frame of the picture, it burned, but the picture was there, and it's a picture with me and a rabbi. And I said, wow, the Jews and the Gentiles, we are still standing. And I look again through the plaques, and part of the plaques that burn, and I see one of the plaques that I received from the Crownites Jewish Council for my partnership in the COP by helping patrolling this same Crownites community with the NYPD COP. So we are here, and I am putting out my plea also for you to stand with me. So we stand together to let anyone who are involved in these type of attack against any church or mosque or synagogue, that if you burn one, you burn all. If you come against one, you're coming up against all of us. And Churchill was leading a group of men, and Churchill called these men together and said, the enemy is about to hang us. If we come together, he would have other task, hanging us together. But if the enemy cannot hang us together, then he will hang us one by one. So we're here to say to Crownites and Brooklynites that together we will win and we will overcome. And I thank my borough president for, he put out the first $5,000 reward, amen, for anyone that have any information out there. So we are asking anyone who see something, please say something. And from the day of my church burning, we have not received any financial help. We have not get any help. The ashes and everything is still there. So we are still putting out the plea out there for anyone that would like to come on board and stand with me, so we can let the enemy know that we will not run, but we will rebuild. Thank you, and God bless America.
Borough President, my name is Ibrahim Kurtulush. I'm here today with my board member, my good friend Ali Chinar, and from our mosque, our Imam Hussein Baji. Hussein, where are you? Back there. I'm with the United American Muslim Association, a Turkish-based organization here in Brooklyn, New York. We're one of the largest organizations in the United States also. And we're here today in Brooklyn to condemn any type of recent vandalism against any type of Hindu temple, any type of Jewish house of worship, or any type of Islamic center. We, the Turkish...
That he'll be murdered in cold blood. We have to educate our children, young and old, that people matter. You matter, I matter.